The Steam Deck dock is delayed and there's a race to the bottom in the handheld PC market. That and a lot more in today's Deck News Roundup. Let's get into it. What's good, Deck Gang? The first story I have for you today is about Final Fantasy VII Remake. There has been some movement on the SteamDB page for FF7, but I would caution against getting too excited. This news comes courtesy of Morwell on Twitter. He notes that this game's package received 4 updates in under 48 hours. And as I alluded to, he warns that this doesn't necessarily mean a Steam release is around the corner. We're coming up on 6 months since FF7 Remake was released to the Epic Game Store. Most Epic exclusive deals last a year, but more importantly, we're still not sure what kind of deal they've struck with Square. The Kingdom Hearts games have yet to come to Steam, and those debuted on the Epic Store over a year ago in March. That said, Square does have an event planned this month to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, where they will be making some significant announcements, perhaps Remake 2 or maybe even more content for Remake. Either way, they may be creating new builds for FF7 Remake, which may be triggering some sort of automated upload to Steam. That said, I can't wait for it to come to Steam, and I'll be crossing my fingers that it will be at a reasonable price. In a somewhat similar story, there's a chance that Modern Warfare 2 may be coming to Steam when it releases later this year in October. If you navigate to the DLC page for a Call of Duty game like Black Ops 3 and scroll to the bottom, there is a button for exploring the full Call of Duty franchise. As you can see, there's a blank image in this spot here, but for a little while, a few days ago, it was not a blank image. It was this image that comes straight from the Modern Warfare 2 marketing materials. This could be nothing and just simply a mistake and a coincidence. Alternatively, it could mean that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is in fact coming to Steam, either in addition to or instead of Battle.net. At least, that is the headline that many news outlets seem to be going with. If the Microsoft deal does go through, it seems inevitable that Battle.net will eventually go away, just as the Bethesda launcher did. Hopefully that means Activision Blizzard games come to Steam and you're able to transfer your games and saves seamlessly, as was the case with the sunsetting of the Bethesda launcher. After all, Crash 4 is an excellent choice for the Steam Deck. That said, is it possible that they would sunset this launcher even before Microsoft takes over? What would the incentive be? Perhaps it could be a way to make up for Call of Duty sales diminishing in the last few years. And also, what is the likelihood that this or other Call of Duty games would be playable on the Steam Deck given the anti-cheat situation? What do you think? Speaking of anti-cheat, it looks like you may be able to play Rust on Steam Deck very soon. When asked for an update on Linux support, the founder of Facepunch Studios, Gary Newman, said, quote, "They're working on it. Maybe next month if it turns out to be stable enough." It's unclear to me if he means that the EAC team are working on some sort of update or if Facepunch themselves are working on Rust and Linux, presumably via Proton. Also, it's important to note that there's a storied history of Rust and Linux compatibility. There was a native port that reportedly didn't get enough support and was eventually dropped when EAC was acquired by Epic and they discontinued Linux support. More recently, Gary Newman implied that Rust would be deck compatible back in July of last year. This is what he had to say on Twitter months before the deck launched. Quote, "EAC are working on it. We're working with them to make it happen. Rust runs good on the deck," end quote. It's to the point now where it's a little bit of I'll believe it when I see it. The more games on SteamOS, the better, and I wish them luck, but you'll forgive me if I don't fully believe that this one is happening. With some of the smaller news out the way, let's get into the bigger stories. As we jump into that, make sure to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, then hit subscribe as well and set your notifications to all so you stay up to date on Steam and the Steam Deck. To me, the biggest story for this week is the way that PC handheld makers are reacting to the Steam Deck. We're starting to see real competition shape up with prices that are competitive with the Steam Deck. There are upcoming handhelds ranging from $250 to $800 US. Those prices are all competitive with the price of the deck, with the higher end devices possibly outperforming the deck. Much of this news came after my review of the Intel One X Player Mini. The Mini, GPD Win 3, and the Aya Neo Next are all devices that came out around the same time as the Steam Deck, and as a result, found it quite difficult to compete with the deck on either performance or price. But now the device manufacturers have had time to reset their strategy and they're coming strong. First came announcements from Ein. They're notable for their powerful Android handheld, the Ein Odin, but they've been working on a PC handheld line called the Ein Loki, and they announced 4 models: the Loki Mini, the Loki Mini Pro, Loki, and Loki Max. These all have a 6-inch 1080p display, and the low-end devices come in at 240 and 280. These are kitted with AMD Mendocino chips, which are good for indie games, older 3D games, and emulation up to around the PS2 era. On the high end, we have a 6600U and a 6800U. The Loki seems to be the sweet spot at $699 for 512GB, a 40 watt-hour battery, and the 6600U, which should perform at least as good as a Steam Deck, if not better. The Loki Pro with a 6800U should perform significantly better than a Steam Deck, but with maybe half the battery life in most scenarios. Not to be outdone, Aya Neo took this opportunity to undercut the competition with their own announcements. They described 5 different models. There is the Aya Neo Air Plus, which also has a Mendocino chip and is priced at $299. In addition, there are 2 different Aya Neo 2 models. The 6600U model comes in at $619, so $80 cheaper than the Loki, and the Aya Neo 2 6800U model, which comes in at $689, making it almost $100 cheaper than the Loki Max, which is just insane. These prices honestly don't make any sense, and I don't know how they're able to accomplish this without the cut from selling games like Valve receives. Despite that, there are a lot of reasons that many are sticking to their Steam Deck guns. It's not just the price and performance, of course. There's stuff like consumer support, repairability, trackpads, gyro, a large community, and SteamOS itself. While many of these device manufacturers have plans to support SteamOS, their hands are tied until Valve or someone else make the OS friendly enough to non-DEC hardware. To that end, it appears that the Aya team are working on some sort of Linux-based Aya Neo OS. I really hope this works out and they're able to make a competent operating system for their device. With this many devices on the way, I'd like to know what you think. Is there anything that any manufacturer can do to reasonably convince you to buy something other than the Steam Deck, either in addition to or instead of? Let me know in the comments. And today, and you probably saw this coming, the Steam Deck docking station has been delayed. Just yesterday, Valve posted the following, quote, "Due to parts shortages and COVID closures at our manufacturing facilities, the official Steam Deck docking station is delayed. We're working on improving the situation and will share more info when we have it. This has no effect on production schedule and reservation windows for Steam Decks. Different parts, different factories. In the meantime, the team is continuing to work on improving the docked experience for the Steam Deck with all USB-C hubs and external displays." End quote. That's completely understandable, and I tweeted that it's better to get it right and have ample supply. I'm glad that they mentioned that they're working on improving the docked experience, because I have mentioned several times that as it is today, the experience is subpar. I think getting the experience right is more important than the docking station itself, as we have many options for docks and hubs as it stands. For what it's worth, I think we have Reddit user New Priber to blame for this. Just 3 days ago, they posted this to the Steam Deck subreddit, quote, "I have a slight suspicion that the dock won't come out in spring," end quote. 2 days later, boom, Valve announces the delay. Thanks, New Priber. Of course, I am kidding, and like I said, I think this delay is totally understandable. And I think the most important part in this update is that the Steam Deck shipments are not being affected whatsoever. This seems to reflect my estimates on sales data. I've been keeping an estimate of how many Steam Decks are being shipped with each batch, and it seems to be a steady 10,000 units per batch. If they keep that rate up, they'll be able to ship over 1 million units in a full year. As it stands, I think they're just shy of 200,000 units shipped. Finally, for the community highlight today, I have this video from Mosquito where he demos using a touch menu to play Typing of the Dead. This looks like it works a lot better than me trying to use the Steam keyboard, and he did it all using the Steam input configurator. I still need some time to get used to this setup myself, but I really like the idea and would like to use it on other typing games like the Texorcist and Epistory. If you have this game, you can download this layout yourself by going to Community Layouts and looking for Touch Menu Keyboard by Mosquito. Go ahead and upvote that bad boy. By the way, let me know if you want to see a short video on how to configure this. People need to know the power of touch menus. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what the PC handheld makers can do to really get your attention. I'm extremely curious to know. And thank you to my patrons who are all extremely awesome. Alright, that gang out. Goodbye!